What's going on? We're here with another episode of the Halfcast podcast. Thanks for coming in, Ty. Obviously, you'll be watching it and you'll see Eugene, but Ty just turned up now, so we had to do the intro after. But this time we're going to do something a little bit different. We've decided we're going to go to whole gyms and interview the whole gym. We started with Eugene Bareman, and he's going to take us through some of, why CKB is one of the top teams at the moment. And then we're speaking to the rest of the team, all of the guys which are competing at the highest level. There was some mad conversations, and man, he's like, you can see why the genius is of what they're doing at CKB. So it'll be a little bit different for these next couple of episodes, but I think it'll be cool because we're going to do it hopefully with the Sharkies boys. We're going to go. We've got some soccer teams, we've got other fight teams, and we're going to run through. We had on today we had Israel, Volk, Brad Riddell, and was that it? The next three. The next three will be Shane Young, Kai, and Dan Hooker. So really cool episodes, and something different for everyone to watch. And also Drink West. Pre-orders are available now. It'll be out May 2nd. Ty and I are going to be dropping it off. So thank you boys for coming in, and let's keep it up. Keep it rolling. Be safe.
Be safe out there.
Thanks for all your words, Ty.
Shut up.
If we could start, if you don't mind, with a bit of the history of the gym, before we get into like how everything's going, like how you started. And obviously, you're at a new location now.
Yeah.
And even how that's affected, because I know with just opening up a new spot, man, fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the latter part first. Like, we just got into a new spot that we're planning to do a bit of construction on and stuff, quite a bit. You've been there for a little bit, but thing is, like, and I don't know how many people are thinking too deeply into this, but for our industry, for people who own businesses in the industry I'm in, you just don't know, like, the effect that this is going to take. Like, our industry is high risk. Like, it's close quarters. Like, you can't, to learn MMA, to learn kickboxing, you have to come into contact with people and sweat on them and exchange a lot of bodily fluid. There's no other way around it. So, like, how that affects our industry is like a big question mark. So, like, when the gym opens up, I'm just not. I'm really apprehensive. Like, I'm not sure. You know, half my members going to come back, a quarter of them going to come back. Are they all going to come back? Like, it's just up in the air. Like, the hearts and minds of people and how this affects them is a big question mark. So I'm interested, but you know, you've got to be smart. So you've got to go over all scenarios, right? So worst case scenario is that this coronavirus freaks everybody out, and the membership just drops out, and then and then people like me won't be able to afford, you know, the outgoings and all the cost that it takes to run a gym. Yeah. Then you're looking at some pretty devastating consequences, you know. So it's a tough time. Is
a crazy flip side, right? Because obviously, we'll go deeper into it, but after just having your two world champions and being, I think, the number one gym right in the world, you're just getting that influx of people to become one of the most popular gyms. And now, obviously, I know everyone's going through this, but I can also tell you, as soon as this is finished, I'm coming over to live there for 3 months. Like, so I can just train before I take a fight again. So I don't know if one affects it, but I'll be there.
But I think it also comes down to I think the tidiness. If you come in and just show from get-go, these are the protocols, what we have to go through. It's kind of like, you know, I think they've given us for a due date for NRL already back, where I'm thinking more like yourself, like what happens to another team. I can't control the other team, but I can control my own team. Might see one of my teammates sick, mate, you're out. You're not coming back until God knows you've been tested, you've been other little things and that. I think that's just the main thing around the gym. I reckon, you know, very stressful times at the moment, but honestly, I reckon straight away you show people how clean your gym is, and I think that's that type you are. In
New Zealand, I think they just did a survey as well, though they voted that they would rather the lockdown to be extended to keep it doing, like the majority of people.
Yeah, I think we're in a little bit of a unique situation for small population and being on an island, right? So I think people were happy to like nip it in the bud before it got worse.
Yeah.
It's a lot different. It's a little bit different to Australia. You know, we've got 4 million people. Like we have an economy, but it's nothing like your economy here. So like, shutting down your economy for the government's a big thing. But over here, it's a smaller economy. It's much more doable. But yeah, I think Andrew, you're right. Like you just got to put the right protocols in place and make people feel safe. Make people feel safe, and I think they'll come back to the gym. But yeah, it's all up in the air, brothers. I'm telling you.
For sure, no one knows what's going on.
That's it.
And if you don't mind me asking, I don't know if is New Zealand doing the same thing where they're pausing the rent for people that are struggling? Well, not struggling, but over here you're able to, with small businesses, you're able to ask,
grants and that kind of stuff.
Able to ask to pause your rent.
Not on commercial business, not yet.
Really?
I think just your normal households and stuff. I think they've stopped eviction, so you can't evict anybody in the middle of this, and you can't increase the rent. But I think there's a small business and commercial business relief package is coming out soon, so everybody's just waiting to see what it is. But
hope so.
I've negotiated with my landlord to, just to get my rent halved, which is good of him because, he doesn't really have to do that, but he knows that, he knows that for us to survive is only in his, that's to his benefit for my business.
Who else is he going to get in right now at this time? Who else is going to jump in and buy it?
And that's a massive thing, and especially like with today, I think everyone, look, I'm not, I own my house and that, but if someone wants to live in it, I'd most well do the same thing because it's not just, us going through it, it's the whole world in general going through it.
But I think as well, if they need to pause their rent, surely, I'm pretty sure the government pauses your mortgage, is that right?
I'm not sure. Familiar just yet.
All right, well, I won't call it bet. I got a thumbs up from my right hand, so I'm gonna say yes. So, well, that's good news at least, brother. I'm glad. But if we could get into like a bit of the history of CKB for the listeners, if that's all right. No worries. We got that cleared.
It's gonna go through.
We're gonna get that. So obviously you were a fighter yourself, and now becoming a full-time coach. How did it start there?
So I used to train. I started training at quite a infamous gym over here called Bareman Liga with Lolo Heimoli. That's where I started.
Yep.
And through that gym, I met my business partner now, which is a fighter called Doug Viney.
The man.
And then we were training at Lolo's, and then one day. This idea came up, and this opportunity to buy this gym came up, and off a friend who was running it, and me and Doug thought instead of working all these odd jobs or trying to be a university student or whatever we were doing, let's buy this gym and work in the industry that we're trying to be a part of. So we thought it would be like a kind of kill two birds with one stone. Would be in the industry earning money and would be able to train all the time because we owned a gym. So it would help our professional careers.
No.
So we jumped into that. But I mean, we were young and naive. Like it's not. We found out, as the years went by, that it's not like that. Owning a small business. Sucks away a lot of energy and it sucks away a lot of time. So actually, in hindsight, what would have been better was for me to stay training at Lolo's and work part time, and I would have had a much easier time. But I took on a small business and tried to train at the same time, which I thought would be easier, but it was actually much harder than I thought because running a small business, trying to make leases and rents and all these outgoings is difficult, right? So, and that's how we started. It started as an opportunity for us to further our careers. We were a little bit off with that, but we did eventually turn it around to what it is now. So it wasn't all in vain way back then.
Yeah, and ended up being the best team in the world at the moment. So, why do you think? Why do you think that you guys are the best team in the world at the moment?
I think because I think because there's so many reasons, but the underlying reason is because I got a group of guys and a group of coaches with me now, and we all came from a particular style of fighting at Balmoral and from Lolo Hemuli. And I know you're a little bit familiar with Lolo, but people don't realize his brilliance. And we were all able to and take something off him and learn from him and become fighters and then eventually coaches with the foundation that he taught us.
Mm-hmm.
If we had started off on the wrong foot, I'm not sure if we'd be in the same position now, but we started off with the right type of knowledge and the right type of teaching.
Yep.
And then I was able to kind of capture that resource and bring it all together. And then I was able to bring those coaches together just through our friendship. And then we worked, and then we just put our heads down and worked until the point we are now, where we've got, these young fighters that are capable of competing and being at the world stage. But if you want to put it down and want to go way back to the start of it, then you're probably looking at that.
Well, it's crazy that you say that. I was speaking to, I can't remember who it was. It was only last week, and they were asking me about Mark and Lolo, and I was explaining some even themselves when Lolo's explaining, I think because sometimes their freshness or the way they explain it, people take for granted what they're saying, but it's not until someone does what they're doing or goes through the motions of what he's just explained. Sometimes even Mark, they'll say I just punched him in the mouth, but when you watch what they're doing, the angles they're taking, some of the even the angles of their strikes, it's genius what they're doing. I've trained, Lolo did one private with me years ago, and we were cracking up sometimes when the way it's almost in a joking way, but after you do it, it's genius where he puts you in the positions that he shows you, but he's just a freshie how he explains it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But Lolo has his own ways of communicating and stuff, right? And
yeah.
He has his own way of teaching. I've had stuff taught to me from Lolo, and the penny didn't drop on what he was teaching me till 4 or 5 years later.
Wow.
When I started to I started to understand what he was trying to teach me, and I started to pull it off. Then I was like, oh man, finally I kind of I've got to the bottom of what he was trying to teach me way back then. I tried to understand it, but I didn't grasp it until years later. So he's just it's just the benefit of having in our industry, in MMA or in combat sports, there aren't many great coaches. There's a lot of good coaches, but there aren't many great ones.
Yep.
And if you're lucky enough, and not everybody's lucky enough, to run into one of these great coaches, then you're also lucky enough that you can reap the benefit of that by taking as much knowledge as you can from them and really paying attention to what they're doing and trying to transfer it over to you. And I was able to firstly recognize that, and then I was able to put my mind into learning as much as I can straight from the horse's mouth, not from a book or from YouTube or instructional videos. So we all reap the benefit of that.
And there's some things that, from outside looking in at your academy and your fighters and that, there's a persona of, humble fighters, very willing to work. And is there something you enforce when all your fighters come, you got champs, you got boys that are on the rise. I talked to Kai through social platforms and all that, and mate, the most humblest bloke I've ever met. Is there something when someone walks into your gym, if I'm the coach, I'm going to take you on, but I need you. Is there something you tell them how to be humble, how to be grateful for things? Do you, and kind of knock off that, I guess that, there's times to be arrogant, but there's times to be, leave the arrogancy out the window. This is the way I work. And is there something that you do with your fighters and that?
Yes. It was something I used to do a little bit, and I still do a bit of, but the situation where I'm at now is I'm lucky enough where I don't have to step in and do that very often.
Yeah.
Now the environment takes care of itself.
That's it.
You got a group of guys here, and I've been there for a while. There's a group of leaders there.
Yeah.
They teach these they teach people who's coming into the gym how you should act and you know how you should behave. And if you go back even further, if you want to, like, that probably comes down a little bit to the way that Lolo ran his gym. It was always Lolo's, you know, he's a Christian guy, so he always ran a gym in that, you know, in that sort of manner. It was always a very respectful place. And then if you go even further than that, then you know, like I ran it the way I was brought up, and I've got a couple of I got a Christian mum, and although I'm not a Christian myself, I've got a Christian mum, and I've got a wonderful dad. Who my dad's he's a provider. He's old school. He taught me so many things about just being honest and hardworking to get ahead, and that's just those are the principles that I've lived by, that I try and bring into the gym. And nowadays, like, man, you'll be surprised. Like, nowadays, I don't know. Every time I say stuff like this, it makes me feel old. But man, kids come in.
The cockiest little cunts, I swear to God, I get in football all the time.
Yeah.
So you just want to clip around the calm down. You haven't made it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But it's
I don't know if it's like that in the fighting world, but
like obviously there is, because it's fighters, but you can tell the environment. That's why I loved the gym as soon as you go in there, because it's like how I grew up with my dad. It's the martial arts. It's like it's the respect, it's the the honor, and like you can tell those core values are part of the gym, and they don't need to be enforced either. Like the worst thing is they can be enforced, because Doug and like Doug would just give everyone a hiding.
That's how I see it.
But you can tell that's ingrained in the gym, and especially it's when the top guys all live by those principles. When they come in, the younger guys, it's like you just know not to do it, because it's
100%.
like, well, he is where he is. I'll follow that lead.
Yeah.
And like, how do you sustain So sorry, did we? I think we had. Is that timing up? Can you hear us? Oh, sweet. No, I was sorry.
Yeah,
you go.
Well, earlier on, me and Doug, we used to have to vet a lot of people, right? We used to be a lot of strange, and like you said, Andrew, a lot of dads used to come in. And then over the years, we've done less and less of that. And I was thinking about this last year sometime. I was thinking about this. I was like, man, a lot of dickheads used to come in. Seems like there's more dickheads nowadays, but I never run into them. And then what I figured out is those dickheads are still coming in, but they're changing. The boys and the environment, the training environment, is grabbing a hold of those guys and changing them before I've gotten a chance to like figure out that they're dickheads. So they'll become being a certain way, and the boys have taken them in and just like slowly just chipped away at them and changed them. And then so it's not a matter of them that they're not coming. It's now that I've got to now where environment and the boys are just changing those guys, and I don't even know that they've come in as dickheads, and they're just like, the boys are just chipping them away. Before you know, after 2 or 3 years, those cocky little guys that used to come in off the street, they're semi-professional athletes. So it's like it's a wonderful thing. When I realized this, I was like, man, this is crazy that to where it's reached.
Really cool, making men of boys. That's a admirable feat. Also, with you guys being the best gym in the world, I was thinking about this. How do you sustain that? Huge, like I'm sure you're coming up, like, because you're always staying ahead of the curve. How do you stay ahead and make sure that you're staying on the front foot? Because obviously there will be a time like everyone watches you guys now, and they're going to try and figure out how do we catch up to these guys. How do you stay on top, essentially?
Yeah, I think I'm always working on stuff, brother.
I know. That's why you're the best, cuz I know. And especially that you've had all this downtime. I can't imagine what you'd be doing. It's like all videotape. How much tape have you watched in this downtime?
Yeah, I've got some crazy things.
Told you.
Yeah.
All this has been giving you time just to stay ahead of the curve.
Well, yeah, man, I've got some stuff, and I'll be able to. I can't reveal it on here for obvious reasons, but when you're over here, I'll show you some stuff, and it's a lot of stuff that, yeah, a lot of stuff where I've had to get people a lot smarter than me to work on it and stuff. But but also, you know, because I get that question a bit, like, how do you stay on top? But some of the stuff we're doing there, it can be universally carried through to it doesn't matter it out. People work it out. The knowledge and the style, like if you take like we've become really well known for fainting, which is a funny thing because for us that's just a normal part of fighting. It's just been a normal part of fighting ever since I've been young. But that's like a universal principle, like that. You can't solve that. You can't solve that. If you do it well, at no point in time, and you can look back through boxing history through 100 years, people have been fainting and, you know, moving and fainting and shifting. There is no answer to that riddle. Like a lot of the stuff we're teaching, if you do it well and you understand why you do it, there is no answer for it. It's like a universal principle that will survive through time. It doesn't matter. So like that is why that is a big reason why we'll be able to stay on top. And then the other thing is just like having a desire, like, you know, like always working and having a desire to be on top and coming up with all the different things.
Yeah, well, like even people I've watched breakdowns of your guys, like your fighters' fights, and they'll like say, oh, he's fainting, then he's doing this. And it's easy to say that they're seeing what he's doing, but it's the amount of hours of drills and what you're doing after it and making exact points. Like even when I'm so I worked with Selby obviously, and he taught me what to do, and even teaching me what to do, it wasn't until you sat down with my fight and watched our fight and broke it down. It wasn't until then that I understood why I was doing what I was doing. You're just doing it out of reaction. So that's like, even if people can see what you're doing, they can't really understand it fully, I think, until like it's the hours that they've put in, and I see what you guys were doing at the gym. It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I mean, that was that fight impressed me, and even though you might not have understood what was going on when I watched that fight live, and I had talked to Selby obviously, but I knew exactly what was going on. And that fight didn't go your way in the end, but you got to say before that, it was looking pretty good for you, I felt, up until that point. Yeah. Yeah, you had him in absolute, and I'm talking in terms of his mind and what he was thinking. You had him in absolute no man's land. He didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I loved about being there was the mental side. Like, not just, it's like so many people just see it as a fight. A lot of people just see it as a scrap. Like, this is what you do. But I loved, obviously, you can see you just a very deep person and how 100%. He thinks about it. And
100%. Just say if I was going in a fight camp, how much video work do you do with your fighters? Like literally, like, you know, you do your training and all that, but how much video, behind the scenes, for as a fan, like no one knows how much video work you do. To be honest, like in footy, I hate video, but like,
brother, this is my office here. I have 2 screens. So
you put the little one in it,
and I just plays Call of Duty.
This is where I spend most of my time. A lot of my time. Like, especially nowadays with these guys at the highest level, where there's so much on, there's just these guys. Everything's on the line. Like I have to spend. I'm gonna say that I probably spend equal or more time in front of the screen nowadays. It's just a big part. It's just a big part, and it does get to you. It does get to you, but I mean, so does losing. That gets to me more. So
do you watch all the fighters that he's fought, or do you just go the last 5 fights or the last 3 fights, or do you watch pretty much nearly every fight he has? 40?
Yeah, I try and watch nearly every fight. I always start at obviously the ones that are the most relevant, like the ones he's done recently, and I work my way backwards. But you need to go right back because there's certain things that you can identify.
No.
That you need to know that they're stuck in time, they're etched in time, that no matter what happens, no matter what sort of training camp he has, you need to know that he's going to come into the next fight and do that particular thing.
Because even if they change... Sorry, you go.
Yeah, well, you have to go back quite a few years to figure out that it's a true habit.
Yeah.
You can't go back 1 or 2 years. You have to go back further.
Which is what I was going to say, because even if they try and change their style, as soon as they get tired or get on their back foot, that's going to come out because that's deeply rooted in their system, right?
Exactly. I see quite a bit of change, like in the space of a year, even 2 years. I can see change, but if I go back even further and take a bigger sample, then I can be like, oh wow, this guy's not going to change that. There's something we can take advantage of that. He's done that since it's early in his career, and he's still doing it up until his last fight. That's something that we can put in the bank, you know.
Yeah. Was that something that happened with the Yol fight? Because as many of the haters that everything like that saying it, I was on my edge of the on the edge of my seat, and I thought it was a genius fight. Obviously, in comparison to the Joanna fight, it wasn't like that, but I could see like it was so impressive, the chess game that was going on, and I was screaming because I was like, Yol's just made this a 2-round fight. Like what he did was just completely against what everything did, and it just threw it off. It was like amazing in a different way to what the Joanna fight was.
Yeah, that fight. I mean, so that fight, we just. Basically, it comes down to this. We honestly thought that he would take way more risks.
Yep.
And as the fight progressed, we just thought there's just no way he can't, because here he is with this opportunity. And although we talked about how he deserves the fight, everybody knows he never deserved. Like the guy was like he didn't deserve the title shot in the first place. The only reason he was there is because we wanted to fight.
Yeah,
because Israel didn't want to sit around.
For his legacy.
Israel didn't want to sit around and wait for Paulo Costa's arm to be fixed. So we were like, Dana, like, get us someone.
Heck.
And then we were like, let's take Ramiro. And then we were all in agreement. So let's take Ramiro. So then they had to start their big PR machine, and then we had to get that fight on. We just thought, after being in that position, being as old as he was, probably, or I would say definitely not going to get another title shot, but never say never. We just thought he would risk the biscuit way more than he did. And Izzy's the type of guy that he does. He needs a certain amount of activity just to like initially make some calculations.
No.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what was so impressive. Because you could see, like, Izzy needed Yol to faint, like react off the feint. Sorry, and he just did zero. So it fucked his whole like. No. I was just, it was so strange. Yeah, it was amazing. So.
Yeah, but it's an interesting strategy, that, right? Like, when someone faints and you decide to stay still. Because when someone reacts to a feint, that's really just acknowledgement for yourself that it worked. When someone doesn't react, do you believe that it's not working? Because it's still working, because they're just choosing the reaction they're choosing to have.
Yeah.
So
he still believed that he might have got hit, but he just chose to do nothing about it.
Exactly. The reaction he gave himself is to stay absolutely still. But trust me, in his head, it's like when you're playing Russian roulette, right? And they're clicking through the gun. You know a bullet's coming at any of those points. Now you can just, through sheer determination, tell yourself just to stay absolutely still and look down the barrel of that gun. But in your head, which is where what a feint's all about, you're under pressure. Like, you know that could be the bullet. Like the feints are still working, whether you stay still or not. They're still doing what we want them to do, and that is elicit a particular reaction. The reaction we got was him doing nothing. Back to what I said, what Israel needs is he needs to make some calculations. But because Romero did hardly anything, the opportunities for him to make those calculations were so few and far between, it made Israel uncomfortable because he didn't have enough. He needs to miss a few shots. He needs to step back. He perhaps even needs to get hit a few times. But because that hardly happened, then Israel was never able to get comfortable with what was coming either. So now you had like Romero uncomfortable to do anything.
And then he overextend himself on that first attack, and then that's when Yo clocked him. That I think he threw like an overhand, and he got caught once.
There was that, but that wasn't a big factor. The bigger factor was what I'm talking about, is that he just didn't get enough opportunities to make calculations. And so, because I know Israel needs those opportunities, he takes a while to make those calculations, and he never got that opportunity to make any calculations. He felt uncomfortable during the whole fight. It was a very difficult fight for Israel, and it was a very difficult fight to corner.
Yeah, because Izzy obviously has a very high fight IQ. Was there something that you told him to try and change on the fly from something that you were practicing beforehand? Because and we can cut this out if you need to, but I was watching every single, I know you probably watched Romero's fights and stuff, and then I was watching you do drills, and man, I was watching you guys like change the angle of Izzy's toe where he was placing it, and was affecting where he'd put his shoulder, and like I said, we can cut anything out that's like in too detail what you do, but did you have to, as a coach, tell him to change specifics on the fly more than what Izzy could figure out?
I did. I suggested a number of things to do for us to not change, but stuff that we'd worked on for him to start trying it, so that we could start to assess whether it was going to work or not. For sure, we had like a myriad of things to do. Like in terms of just for your own knowledge, right? Just for your own personal growth. Like when you're talking about like changing your foot position and stuff and all of that, if your foot's a certain way in a fight, that's always going to be the wrong time to be like, put your foot like this. Or 100. One of the worst ones that I like to that I hear too often is when coaches are like, put your hands up, and they spend a big part of the energy telling the guy to put their hands up. Now that's good. Hey.
How good. Another one.
Oh, no. We might have to do a blur for that one. That might be a blur out.
You got no clothes on.
Hey. Totally.
I just finished this.
Oh, that's gold.
So this.
Oh, good. That's fine. Oh, my gosh.
He's going to bother me until I...
Oh, good. We won't hold you for too much longer, Coach.
No.
So I got to do this. Get to... Anyway. No, he can stay there. I'll go. I'll move.
Oh, good.
The real boss. The real boss.
So all I'm saying is that like you have to be very careful with what you instruct, and I couldn't. People like think that I was, they were like, why don't you make Israel pressure him more? Why don't you make him go forward? But I have to be very careful. I can't put Israel at risk. If I give across the wrong message, it's easy to be like, oh, go forward more, attack more. But if I send him the wrong message and he runs into something and gets knocked out, that comes back. You have to be very careful about the way that I bring that message across. And although I knew that I needed him to be a little bit more aggressive and pick it up a bit, it wasn't just a matter of just going in there and saying, look, you need to just charge forward and just go crazy. Like people just don't understand that, But, that was one thing that you said in my fight. Everyone from the Shogun fight, all of them said, oh, why did you run in?
and you're the only person that I spoke to that said in that situation that was the right thing to do, because in the pocket Shogun, he sits on his feet and then that's where he swings and that's where he catches everyone. And it's like it's just it's just interesting because you have such a very different view on a lot of other people as a coach, especially, and I guess that's obviously why you are the best.
Yo.
But is there also, is there a once you guys get back into a training, is there like going to be like a timeline that you would suggest for your fighters before you even let them fight again? Because like, have you given your fighters how to keep them technically sound? Have you given them anything, or to keep their cardio up, or is it like how's that been?
A couple of guys that have messaged me, but the ones that everybody else, I've just sent out the message. I've sent out 2 messages. I've sent out just keep your base fitness as high as you can, because that'll allow us to go straight into a training camp and be just and save your money. Those are my Well,
it's good that none of the pubs are open.
Yeah, I mean, when are they? Well, none of us know when they're gonna fight again, right? So like, just look after your spending a bit more, because God knows when the boys are gonna fight again. So yeah,
well, that's one of the questions that I've got for all of the fighters coming up, especially. Like, I don't know if you have a viewpoint on that with like UFC, because everyone's paid in lump sums. I know a lot of the footballers here, we were speaking with Andrew, how even if they're on that contract, they only get that amount per month or per week or whatever, just so they're not spending that full lump sum. So I don't know if that's like, especially those guys that weren't on big pay packets, they got that little lump sum. Their fight camp probably costs more, and now they've got that lump sum to try and survive until this thing's over and they get to fight again.
Yeah, I mean I don't go a hell of a lot into that, but those guys, I mean, they're smart. Like you have to budget it out, right? Like, for sure, all professional athletes and that need some sort of training on that. I did hear a rumor going around one of our groups that a little bit of pay slipped into all the UFC fighters' bank accounts. You might have to check your bank account. Brother.
Oh, I must have missed that one. I must have missed the group message. But I'm just grateful to still be in the UFC. But I might just Dana. I missed that message. Fucking hell.
Mine's just
thank you for informing me.
I might have let the cat slip out of the bag. Maybe I need to...
100%. All the people that I'm finding didn't get that message.
Let's just say all the New Zealand fighters, the ones based in New Zealand, I did hear a rumor got a little bit of money popping into their account.
Well, I'm going to text all the Aussie fighters and see if it's true. We'll try and wrap up, Coach, so we don't hold you for too long. But what's your view on the Fight Island?
Yeah, I'm a bit. Yeah, I mean, I had. They're telling me that Dan was meant to fight on May 16th, and they're saying that that's still going ahead.
Oh my God! Look at this guy. He's on time. Sorry, Coach. Just say hi, and we'll finish off. You just say hi. Look at it. 1 hour late.
Disgraceful, brother. Disgraceful. Brother, that's why you could have never survived at CKB, because you would have just been doing burpees forever.
We'll finish it off with Ty, because Coach wants to give you a hiding.
Well, I don't have a license, so it was either go to jail or get a lift.
Brother, you see, this would have been a big problem at CKB, this punctuality, my brother.
100%.
Did they let you slide at AKA? Did they let it slide?
Nah, I'm always on time at AKA.
Hey, that's what it's about.
I like it, brother.
So was Dan going to fight on the Fight Island?
Well, I've messaged him and they've just said that his fight is still on and still a go, and Kai was fighting on that same card, and they're saying that fight is still on, is still a go. So that you've got to assume that that's going to be on the island, because now the reservation's been shut down.
Yeah, for sure. The kid. We'll let you, Coach. We'll wrap it up for you. The kids are. It's Easter. But so I'll just leave you with 5 questions. There's 5 people that you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive.
One of them would be me.
100%.
Barack Obama, and all the rest are going to be boxers. John L. Sullivan, if you know who he is, the last bare knuckle boxing world champion of the world. Who else? Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard. I'd like to have dinner with him. He's still alive. Obviously, you can't go past Muhammad Ali and another boxing trainer whose name is Harry Wiley Jr., who was the trainer of Sugar Ray Robinson. That's it.
So, favorite fight of all time to watch for anyone that's watching. The favorite fight of all time.
Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard.
Oh, mad. What do you want your legacy to be? Whether your own or it's the gym's, what do you want your legacy?
That everybody that came into my gym, whether they were professional or just your everyday, run-of-the-mill person, was affected in some positive way. That would be cool.
Mad. You go to do during this during the quarantine?
My go-to drill.
A go-to to do during the quarantine to make up time. It sounded like
garage.
you said, garage 8 times.
Garage.
And if you have one last one, what's your Netflix show to go to?
Check out Bad Blood. It's a mafia movie about the Canadian mafia.
I have watched it. Mad show.
Yeah, I'm into those sort of shows. So,
thank you very much, Coach. I appreciate your time. We'll let the kids. Happy Easter.